Hi, I'm Kimberly Gesley. I'm the president and CEO for Alive Hospice, and I'm here today with Hal Cato of Thistle Farms. Thank you, Hal. I always say to people that you're a better person if you know Hal Cato, from what you've done from a business perspective to what you've done through Hands on Nashville into Thistle Farms, and you always greet with a warm smile. Even behind the mask, you greet with a warm smile. But we were just talking to Becca earlier, and what I had shared with Becca was when I was younger, and I think when we were grabbing tea, I shared this with you. My dad always said, when you die, make sure when you get memorialized, they just don't say you were a hard worker. Mm-hmm. And I think as adults, we think about that sometimes because maybe we do get lost in our work.
Right.
But he said, if you want to leave a memory, live the memory you want to leave. And talking to Liz on our communication and marketing team, we talked about that, and she created these conversation cards. Mm-hmm. And if you recall, when I joined Alive, I was asking you, you all have created a movement here around, not just caring for women, but also a movement around making it acceptable to have conversation around human trafficking and addiction. So what I wanted to talk about today from our conversation cards is, what do you want to see more of in the world? And you've had such a diverse background, through the career that I've watched. You can really pick any part of that, and I think it'd be a fun conversation.
Sure. What I want to see more of in the world, and what I'm craving right now, is authenticity. And people not being afraid to just be who they want to be, and do what they want to do. Can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with, burned out bankers over the years, who want to come meet and talk about how can I do more to give back,
right?
And yet they're stuck, and they're afraid to take that chance, or it may mean a little bit of a change in lifestyle, or just having to change something about what the world is expecting me to be, rather than who I want to be, and that's always a hard place. I mean, I know for years and years and years, I lived sort of from the outside in, where I was trying to perform, and then one day just waking up going, this, I want to live from the inside out. There's a big difference.
Drop the mic. So, I think that's I'm stumbling because that's such a powerful statement, because I think all of us have points in our lives where you're in a moment, you think, okay, that's it. I'm going to do something different, whether I'm burnt out from work or, it's like seeing an accident and you slow down. Mm-hmm. But then 5 miles later, you realize you're going that exact same speed again. So I feel like many times you might want to be authentic, but you're afraid to give up on, or you forget.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, it's especially being a man, when there are expectations and norms, or whatever you want to call it, what we're kind of expected to live up to. I think the pressure is even harder. And I kind of grew up with, you will be A, B, C, and D, and it turned out to be none of the above, which I think has made me a better leader, especially in the nonprofit space. It's made me a better advocate for the young people I worked with at Oasis Center and the women survivors I work with here, because I did choose a different path, and it was scary. It was just so scary, but it's the best thing I could have ever done.
When I was talking to Becca earlier, I shared that the first time I came here was right before the construction, and it was an OKT shop, and then the renovations occurred, and as you know, I was a regular before the pandemic in the circle. And you talk about being authentic. Mm-hmm. In fact, Liz on our team, I lent her my book, and I'm the nerd that sits in there and writes notes during the circle. But it's very vulnerable, it's very authentic.
Yeah.
At least from the women in the program. I know sometimes there's people here that feel forced to say something like this is going to be their moment of declaration. Mm-hmm. So if you want to see more of that in the world, how do you I know how you live your life to be that, but how do you help others? If I'm an exhausted banker and I come to you, they clearly want to hear your story because you're doing it. But how do you help motivate them to actually do it? Or do you not and just continue to live your life? And
No, I mean, I usually, the conversation almost always ends up going back to the thought of, vocation. And what is the voice within you calling you to be? Because your voice and my voice are two totally different. Most of us grow up thinking about our occupation. What do you want to be?
Right.
No one ever talks to kids about how they want to be, or what they're being, what really is calling and speaking to them. And I can remember specifically. I mean, back when I was, really completely different career trajectory, working for a publicly traded company in London, and I got off a quarterly earnings call and I realized that what mattered more than anything to the company was not what mattered to me. And I just felt like I was chewing a stale piece of gum that had lost its flavor, but I just was chewing it. So making the current decision to spit that out and to do something that really mattered to me was a scary moment. And that's usually my story and how I talk to them. And then I just have to hear where they are. Sometimes they just want to talk, and they just need a listening. Sometimes it's inviting them to come in as a volunteer or consider being a board, or just ways to wade into. There's so many opportunities to give back. You don't have to chuck it all and go run a little nonprofit,
That was kind of my journey, that for years I worked for organizations that were owned by private equity firms, and the idea was build it, fund it, sell it.
Right.
And every time we met an investor, they were 3 to 5 or 5 to 7, which means how many years are they going to till they won out? Mm-hmm. And I went to go work for one of Senator Frist's company, 180 Health Partners, but I didn't go there. I liked the model, but I went there thinking, okay, we'll build it, we'll fund it, we'll sell it. And along my search when going there, I wanted to make sure that I could be closer to the consumer, that I had put a whole lot of strategies in place that I never got to see the end results to. So I wanted to be able to see it all the way through. And then I met the women of the program, and it was like, holy cow, like our stories were nothing alike. Yeah. We came from different backgrounds, financially, economic, racial. And the joke was with some of the other people, like, this is the first time the Grinch grew a heart. And I was never a bad person. I feel like I've always been a good person, but like I fell in love with being able to do something else. And when Alive reached out to me to join their management team, I originally said no thank you, because I was so happy doing what I was doing. And one of the board members said, just listen, just hear it through. She said, I think you will really love it. And I did. I met with Clark Baker, who was the chairman of the board at that time. And as he showed such passion around end of life and talk about being authentic, you're as raw as you ever will be. And I mean, it's just every day since then. I didn't think about joining a non-for-profit. I thought about, I really get to come as myself every day.
Yeah. I feel so fortunate that I can do the same here. And
the few, the proud, the men of thistle.
Yeah. You count us on one hand, but it's best lesson I learned years and years ago when I was at Oasis Center, from a young person who just basically looked at me and said, you may be the boss man, but we don't care how much you know until we know how much you care. And I've carried that with me forever. Same thing here, Yes, Thistle Farms had a lot of work to do, and we've brought it a long way, but it wouldn't have happened unless I'd, come in here and let them see who I am, what I care about, why I'm here. And it has nothing to do with the color of the walls or how nice the carpet is. It's that I want to create more opportunity for all of us. And they followed me, and they didn't have to.
Well, as we're closing our conversation, if someone actually listens to our conversation and finds inspiration from it, I think you gave so many little nuggets, which I wish my 18-year-old daughter was here, like not what you want to be, how you want to be. What advice would you give to somebody as they're, and you're, I think millennials right now in particular, but all of us are looking for these authentic moments. We just sometimes don't know. So what advice would you give to somebody?
gosh, I've had so many of these conversations with young people, and for me, it's always, it goes back to the old Parker Palmer book, Let Your Life Speak. And what is that voice within telling you who you are, what you care about, what you're passionate about? What is it that makes you really feel alive? And let's talk about that and figure out how to make that your occupation and your vocation, rather than what the world may expect you to be or your parents expect you to be or anything else. So I love having those kind of conversations.
Well, thank you very much for your time today.